Welcome back to Lost in Roshar, the ultimate journey through the Stormlight Archive. I'm Christian Kremling, and today we have our resident guest with a well of Stormlight knowledge, Truthless of Canada, Jake. Welcome.
Hello,
welcome
everyone.
Back.
I'm here for when Christian can't get Jimmy. Yeah. I'm the reserve. I'm like the backup goalie. Yeah. I'm the backup goalie where like a couple hardcore fans are like, the backup goalie should be the starter, but then everyone else is like, quiet. The starter's really good. Like, don't ruin this. Yeah.
You've got a dedicated fan base, Jake. We hear from them. We get every week. There's a few anti-Jimmy. Get him off the show.
Does my fan base have to be anti-Jimmy? Like, come on, guys. I like Jimmy. Can you just be? I'm happy that you like me on here, but can we cut down the Jimmy slander? Okay, maybe like a little Jimmy slander.
I might be exaggerating to give Jimmy a hard time. It's okay. It's not too bad.
Just a little Jimmy slander is very healthy.
Yeah.
You know, everyone should get a little bit of slander against it. Like there should be some Jake slander as well, right?
We should all cop it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the Australian culture. If you don't make fun of your friends, like, what is this?
Yeah, that's how I know you guys care. Is if there's just a little bit of banter, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So today, guys, we're diving into chapter 70, 71, and 72 for The Way of Kings, a triple special. It's our second last episode. And it's fitting to have Jake on because you've kind of carried us through when Jimmy had a life, unfortunately, and you stepped in and kept the show going, man.
Jimmy actually just isn't here because he's watching UFC 300.
Yeah.
Actually, it hasn't started yet. I'm going to watch UFC 300 just after this. So, joke's on him. He could have still watched it.
Oh, you know what? He'll take any chance for a lazy week off, the bastard. But that's okay. Luckily, you're on because you're a Wemby fan, and all the Wemby fans out there would have seen the ultimate photo of Wemby and the Hobbit Sanderson. So if you don't know, Victor Wembanyama is a huge NBA star, and also like literally and figuratively, he's like 7. What is he, like 7 foot?
He's 7'4" barefoot.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
wow.
Which, funnily enough, like a lot of the Rosharans are about that tall because the Rosharan foot is like bigger. They're actually all like 7 feet tall. Wemby, I think, is even taller than Kaladin. So,
well, I was gonna say he's like perfect Kaladin casting, but that's okay.
He's skinnier than Kaladin though. Dalinar's like Shaq. Probably like
new Stormlight fan casting, only NBA All-Stars.
I mean, height-wise it makes sense. Yeah.
For the entire cast. That works for me.
Yeah. The one thing that kind of makes the casting really tall, like kind of different, is like everyone in Roshar, like to get the race correct, those don't tend to have a lot of tall people.
Do you think like how much are they going to commit? Let's say they adapt this in live action. Are they going to have like really tall Rosharians, or just film it normally? And when there's a crossover,
they'll just go for relative height ish. Like they'll try, but they might not even do that. But like, you know, they'll be like, oh, it's probably like if Dalinar's taller than the other, but they're not going to be like, oh, you want to be in the Stormlight adaptation and you're from Alethkar, you better be at least 6'8". Like,
I think it'll be whenever the crossovers happen. Like the world hoppers will look kind of short.
They'll probably just ignore it.
Yeah, all that. All that.
It would be funny if they did forced perspective like Hobbit style. It's just like make all the world hoppers short.
Just Kaladin looming over Kelsier.
Change his height with illusions when he goes to Roshar.
Ooh, asking the real questions already. But hey, back to Wemby, because my dad's a big NBA fan, and he would always show me everything about Wemby, and I was interested but I wasn't super interested until I saw the tiny-looking Words of Radiance French copy in his hands on his Instagram, and I'm like, now we've got an NBA star here.
Oh yeah,
because he's reading the good stuff.
Yeah,
and I saw an article. He read the last chapters of Words of Radiance to get hyped up for the game.
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty legit.
Dude straight up like turns his phone on airplane mode to read Stormlight. Like,
and I think that's the secret to success in life. That's what we're learning here on Lost in Roshar. The more Stormlight,
I'm just saying, other NBA stars, haven't read Stormlight and aren't 7 foot tall menaces who average 3.5 blocks per game in their rookie year. Wemby has read Stormlight, seems like a pretty well adjusted person who's also an absolute an absolute menace. So I'm just saying, like, maybe if you read Stormlight, you'll be one of the best rookies of all time.
Yeah, and that's our official advice here.
Yes.
But
yes.
yeah,
My official advice is if you can't make free throws, go read Stormlight.
Every time I talk about Wemby, my dad's like, "You just reach out, get him on the show." I'm like, "He's got like 3 million followers, Dad. He's not going."
Although he'd probably all the invites are like, "Hey, do you want to talk about basketball?" Maybe it'd be refreshing for him to be like, "Yo, I don't give a about your stats or like whether you're going to win a championship or rookie of the year or whether you think you deserve to win defensive player of the year. I really just want to hear your like opinions about Kaladin."
Yeah.
Like,
do you want to talk about chapter 8 of Oathbringer, bro? Like, I just like get real specific.
Yeah, I was wondering if you want to fill in as my next guest on Lost in Roshar and make it for like random, like not even like totally random chapters. Not like we're gonna get Wemby on for like the spear that would not break in Oathbringer. Just like, hey, you know that random chapter in Shadesmar? Like,
yeah, you want to talk about the Syl perspective?
Yeah.
It's 3 great. Do you want to talk about the Chiri chapter, bro?
Get that one for interludes.
Yeah. Interludes are spicy, man. I wouldn't mind being asked to talk about the interludes. But you're in the middle of Oathbringer now. Hey, how many laps around Oathbringer is this now?
I forget if it's 5 or 6. I can probably check. Okay, I've read it 4 times, so this would be the 5th.
Damn. And how's it going? How is it number 5?
Similar. I mean, my opinion's not changed on these at this point. Part
what's the mindset going in for the 5th time? Is just for pure enjoyment, or are you trying to refresh your memory for
just 5? Like, this sounds fun, you know? It's enjoyable to read. It's like a guaranteed banger. Like, I don't have to worry that. And also I specifically picked it because I had like a 20-hour travel day.
Oh, okay.
And even a lot of other like authors who I really like, I will get tired if I read 6 hours in one day. But Stormlight, I can read 6 hours in one day, and I'll still on that 6 hour be like, this rules, you know?
Yeah. Do you find like, because I know people, Oathbringer gets some pacing complaints, but do you find on rereads the pacing issues basically just disappear?
I would say no. It's my least favorite of the 4. I still love it, but I do think it does have some pacing issues. Like I think Words of Radiance and Way of Kings are paced better. I haven't reread Rhythm of War, but at this moment I think I like it more. So I like Oathbringer. I think has different strengths. Oathbringer I think is a lot stronger at like developing the supporting cast. I mean, I just read like the Rock chapter, the Bridge 4 chapters, like inject those into my veins. Yeah, so I think it has that, but I think it has some slight pacing issues, and it like its pros is its flashbacks are sick. It's the best Dalinar book in my opinion. It's got incredible supporting cast stuff. All the Sanderlanches are ridiculous, so it's like it's got a crazy Sanderlanche, but all 4 do. So relatively, that doesn't
true.
gain it or lose it any ground.
Maybe the most extended Sanderlanche.
It's got the craziest Sanderlanche.
Yeah.
It's got the most insane. But I think it's my least favorite Kaladin book and my least favorite Shallan book.
Okay.
It's not to say like I don't like the Kaladin and Shallan stuff in that book. I just like the Kaladin and Shallan stuff more in the other 3 books. So that's how it ends up being my least favorite of the 4 marginally.
The thing is, for Kaladin and Oathbringer, the first thing that comes to mind is him just getting like performance anxiety to try and say the third idea.
Yeah. And I mean, I actually really like Kaladin stuff in Oathbringer. I think it's really necessary for his arc. Where it really, I know this is supposed to be about Way of Kings, but everyone here, presumably this is a reread podcast. So
I probably should have said spoilers, but yes.
Yeah. Everyone, if you don't know that this is spoilers at this point, like that's kind of on you. Sorry. Is like it destroyed his ability to separate us versus them, which is something he had in the first 2 books, where he'd be like super dedicated to protecting one side, but then was able to not think of the people he was fighting. Like he wasn't like needlessly cruel to them, but he would not go out of his way to like try and save them. And I think part 1 is like the part 1 Kaladin stuff is my favorite part of part 1.
That's when he visits home, isn't it?
Yeah, when he visits home and he meets like the Parshendi, And it really reminds him of like when he was an escaped slave. It's also really tough to see that like on reread, knowing how much like trouble that actually causes them, because they end up being like treated really poorly by the Voidbringers, which is like obviously it's the Voidbringers being assholes, because it's like how could they have known that? But he was, you know, he's trying to do a good thing, but it like it does a much more effective job of getting us to empathize with the Parshendi than the reveal later that like they were on the planet first. That doesn't hit. It's like, okay, 3,000 years ago they were here. Like that gives you an intellectual reason, another intellectual reason for the case. But like, do you really need one of those? They were enslaved. Like they've got pretty good reasons already, even if they weren't. But really seeing things from their perspective and seeing Kaladin, someone who we emphasize with seeing it from their perspective, I think does a much better job at making us really empathize with the Parshendi.
Yeah, you get that human interaction with them as opposed to just like a history lesson. And you're right, like, oh man, the supporting cast stuff, that's what I kind of miss in The Way of Kings. It's very focused, which is nice, but I miss all these other characters. And I'm like so keen to see them again. But we're jumping, if you haven't heard, we're doing Warbreaker first. We're doing a 3-episode Warbreaker special.
Warbreaker only gets 3 episodes? Okay.
Yeah, just because like we want to keep it Stormlight focused. So that's like fair. Yeah, I think a chapter by chapter for Warbreaker would be too long. Like
Warbreaker rules, but that's fair.
Have you reread Warbreaker?
Yeah, it's actually it's one of my, it might be my most improved on reread of any Sanderson book.
Really? Okay.
I had it, I think I gave it like an 8 point something the first time I read it. Like I liked it distinctly less than Mistborn. And on reread I like it as much and maybe even more than Mistborn. Should I avoid spoiling Warbreaker here?
I'll tag it as Warbreaker spoilers this section. Yeah.
So fully spoiling Warbreaker, like completely.
Okay.
Not minorly.
We got timestamps, guys. Yeah. Skip ahead if you don't want this.
So the Vivenna stuff I found way more compelling on reread. I like the other 2 chapters about equally. Light Song is still about equally fun. But knowing that the mercenaries, like the mercenary humor was even funnier, because they're even upfront about that, like mercenary humor is playing with expectations of when they're being serious and when they're not, but also when they're saying that, it's actually the reverse of what they're saying.
Right.
And just Vivenna's arc, I found, like the first time you read Warbreaker, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, Vivenna. Yeah. And then things go crazy, and like the Vivenna stuff's really interesting for the last third. The different perspective of knowing what's coming, I think, makes everything around Vivenna more interesting. Just because you kind of actually know what's going on. And actually also even the series stuff with Suzbron, like it's really the first time you read it, like at first you just think he's a total creep. And then on reread, you're like, he has no goddamn clue what's going on here. So I think that as well. Light Song, I would say, is about equally entertaining both times.
Yeah, Light Song is so likable. Even on the first read, you just like, I enjoyed it so much. But I'm more curious. Like, I'm curious to like Vivenna. Like, she straight up is in Words of Radiance. Oh no, is it Oathbringer?
In Oathbringer,
Oathbringer, and then Asher's in
Asher's in
like every book from here on. So it's like I remember a lot of Asher stuff in Stormlight, but Azure Vivenna stuff is very hazy to me. I barely remember why she's there or what she's doing.
Yeah, she's kind of gets less focus.
Yeah.
Than Vasher
she kind of disappears, right? Like it's just Oathbringer and then she's gone.
Yeah. She's just doing her thing in Oathbringer. And like it's because for her, like the plot of Oathbringer is like her side plot. Like she's off the beaten path. She just kind of gets stuck in it.
But, can you imagine being in that battle and that's your side plot?
And I don't think she was at Thailand Fields, was she?
Wasn't she? I thought she was there because she worked with Cal a little bit. Or is that a different battle?
Yeah, she might have been. And obviously she was at Kolinar. Like,
yeah. It's
I'm
one
trying to remember
battles.
if in Shadesmar if she goes off and diverts from them and then we never see her again. Whatever, I'll see when I read it. Yeah. I've read this book 4 times and I still can't remember things. A lot of stuff happens, okay? Like there's a lot of characters. But yeah, if I had to if I just see by the I see recording error. Should I be concerned about that?
I had this before.
It does still say recording in the top left.
Yeah. Like, should be fine. If not, I'll figure it out. I'll just do a solo episode. Be like, hey guys, there's chapters,
just get machine learning to replace me.
Yeah, I'll just
Jake seems a bit off this episode. Like,
I should do that. Just just feed your YouTube channel into whatever AI and just talk to it.
Well, if you're gonna do that, you might as well also feed in Jimmy, and then you can have a fake episode with both of us.
Yeah. Oh, great.
With AI.
Oh my god. That would be great. That would be so good. It would just be Jimmy like making theories about the plants and you being like, no, that's wrong. Like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Would you feed it my YouTube videos or would you just feed it my previous appearances on Lost in Roshar?
I feel like I want it to base its personality off the Lost in Roshar stuff, but it needs your voice. Like, so we need
so both. Just every available thing. Other collabs too. Chatting with Nuts. Why not?
Yeah. And I'll make it skewed to being like a bit of a contrarian, and I'll skew Jimmy to be even wackier, and then we'll see what happens. All right, it should be fine. I've had that before. All right, let's jump into these chapters, guys. 3 chapters today.
If I just took the recording and uploaded Lost in Roshar.
Yeah, you just hijacked the whole show. Now hosted on Jake Bishop.
Just like, hey, do you want to actually see what they were looked like while they were chatting and get it a day early? Lost in Roshar, folks.
Oh, it's your villain arc. This is your tower betrayal moment. I took the files. All right, guys. 3 chapters today. 70, 71, and 72. It was very hard to stop, but I'll read the summary now. Chapter 70, Sea of Glass. Shallan lay in her hospital bed, lamenting her actions, and to her surprise, Capsule's death. Whoops. But as she recalls the events leading up to her poisoning, things do not completely add up. She wonders why the antidote did not work for Capsule and why Jasnah was not poisoned, since she too had eaten the poisoned bread. She finds her sketchpad and draws an imperfect drawing of Jasnah examining the strawberry jam, remembering that she was not repulsed by the smell. She then draws Jasnah eating the bread. In her drawing, it looks like it is melting. Realizing something, she leaves the hospital and walks in the darkness on the conclave wearing only her hospital robe. She tells Jasnah that she knows that she is a fake soulcaster, showing her the picture Shallan had drawn of Shadesmar. To a shocked Jasnah, she concludes that Jasnah never had a working soulcaster. Yeah. Jasnah disregards Shallan's statements as fatigue-induced delusions. To prove her statement, Shallan attempts to return to Shadesmar. Holding her partially done garnet sphere, she speaks with the twisted, symbol-headed Spren. They request a truth, preferably a secret truth, to form a bond. To form the bond, Shallan admits to killing her father. She falls into a sea of beads. She begins to drown, but is rescued by Jasnah, who reprimands her for going to Shadesmar with only a single dim sphere. Shallan asks to be a part of Jasnah's work in truth and be trained in soulcasting. At first, Jasnah objects, but Shallan apologizes and explains that she could be someone that can share Jasnah's secrets. Jasnah relents and makes Shallan promise to never lie or steal again. and Shallan her notes to the Voidbringers. The end.
I just like to know, yes, it does say never lie or steal from her. She does not forbid Shallan from lying.
She said anyone else. It doesn't say anyone else from me or anyone else.
No, I think she was fine with that.
She's fine with that. Yeah, it says from me or anyone again. Yeah, all right. Sure.
All right, you will never lie to me again, and you will never you won't lie to me or steal from anyone. That's what it was. She's fine with lying to other people, but not stealing to other people.
Okay.
I mean, okay, so Shallan does lie a lot. What does she steal in the next few books? I don't remember her stealing very much. I think she lies a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of her brand.
like literally,
she's
constantly.
got a Cryptics brand. Come on.
Okay, so I have a few questions here.
Yeah.
I left my bookmark here because I had many questions about this, and also just to flex the Way of Kings leather bound, specifically that artwork, which I don't know if you were looking up and saw, but actually the artwork for this, like the scene where they go to Shadesmar, is like,
oh, I love this one.
Is really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would just again like to say that if Subterranean Press made this book, it would cost $2,000.
That's so true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that art in the leather bound.
What cryptic is this? This does not sound like
she's
pattern.
talking to. Yeah, it does not sound like pattern at all. It's like way too normal.
Yeah.
Way too well adjusted.
And the other one's dead. So what cryptic is this? I legitimately don't know. I don't like not knowing, but also I do like not knowing, because that means I can find out later. Couple other things. One, Yasna has a moment here where when she realizes Shallan isn't an else caller, she's kind of like, oh yeah, of course she wouldn't be an else caller.
Yeah.
And that's a little sus, because why not? And it makes me wonder, we kind of like, in Way of Kings and Words of Radiance, there's kind of like one of each Radiant. And this, I think, is kind of played off as a coincidence. And I'm wondering, like, the Inkspren and Yasna seem to know more about what's going on in Spren culture than the other Radiants. And I'm wondering if there was actually some collusion in Shadesmar between, I think Ebony is the name of, what's the name of Shallan's or Yasna's Spren? I just made it. It's not Ivory. I just made that up. Ivory. And that's close as I could be while being wrong, kind of. Whether it was actually like all of those colluding together and agreeing like one each, whether that was
that'd be really cool. Let's pick our our 10 leaders.
Yeah, or like just 10 rebel, like 10 people who are gonna agree, like, or they're trying, because that, like, I'm trying to think, why would she kind of think to herself like yeah, oh, of course it's a different order.
The way I interpreted that was because of her artistic skill.
Oh, that makes sense as well.
Yeah, she's like, wow, she's like drawing everything perfectly, probably light weaving.
That's actually, I just realized this conversation's in the next chapter. Whatever.
Is it? Like, I didn't read ahead.
Maybe it is, or I just can't find it here. I think it's the next one. Yeah, okay, it is the next chapter, but we'll get to it there. Another thing that I'd kind of forgotten about, but like, tell me, the stronger the truth, the more hidden it is, the more powerful the bond. That bodes well for Shallan. Like,
I mean, she started strong.
She gets, this is her weakest one.
Yeah.
This is like the least,
which is
truth
insane.
Of all the truth. Yeah, like she's doing pretty well by that count. No wonder they wanted Shallan. Now I'm like, what about Wit's bond? Like, how strong of a truth did he go with? I feel like
what did he say, man?
He's got some doozies. I forgot that this wasn't like a binary level of like, your truth is either big enough that you get the oath or not. Does that mean, like, because Shallan's healing seems particularly good, that I've kind of always brushed off for years, that Shallan is just less aware of the dangers of being stabbed because she's been stabbed a lot less. So just thinks of her healing in a way like she like trusts it more than Kaladin does, who's taking more wounds. But now I'm wondering, like, is Shallan's healing actually just better than like Kaladin's healing because of how
is it because of the
strong
bond?
Her truths are, because of how strong her bond is, from the fact that she's not dropping normal truths, she's dropping like straight bangers every time.
So you got to admit to something really bad and then you live forever because you can just infinitely heal. Well, it
doesn't have like its age. It's a different thing. Right?
Well, it's like, how do they quantify these truths? Like, is the cryptic there with a little truth calculator? It's like, it's a 9.7 on the truth scale.
Well, there's a lot of how do they quantify. Like, Kaladin gets in this with Syl and Oathbringer. Like, I will protect even those I hate so long as it is right. Like, how do we decide what is right? I feel like there's just kind of an intuitive, like, this is a banger. Like, the stronger the truth, the stronger, I guess, I don't know, the more
I just love
important of a lie it is. Like to
like,
keep.
yeah, that's a banger truth. We'll take
Yeah.
it. We're eating good.
But because, like, I don't know. Tell me in the comments. I'm curious. Have you guys in the past noticed that the way Shallan describes her healing seems to be like more trusting in it than Kaladin? Like Kaladin has thought to himself like, the Stormlight doesn't actually heal me; it just helps me heal myself, which is different. Like he obviously can still take a lot of punishment, but Shallan is just like, I could stroll away from like walking off this cliff. I'll take a bolt to the face. Like, bother.
It's like, yeah, there's a lot of things because Kaladin has so much knowledge of being a surgeon. You'd think that could help in healing to some degree. But is it an order thing? Like light weavers have more of a healing,
or is it that
thing?
Light weavers have more like less uniformity in their healing because their oaths depend on how strong of a truth. Like if I was a light weaver, I would have some weak ass truths because I didn't secretly murder both my parents and my Spren. I don't know. So like my healing would be like kind of lame compared to Kaladin, but Shallan's like, I killed my father, I killed my mother, and I killed my Spren.
And my mom's a herald. What?
And my mom's a herald. I mean,
it's literally Shallan is the Jerry Springer episode of. She's just the reality TV bombshell.
Anyway, so this is me coming in with the theories. The thing is, I need to bounce this off me because you're never going to be like, I don't think that checks out. You're going to be like, oh, yes. I like.
Yes, everything is correct until proven false.
People in the comments who are slightly more wary than Christian. Tell me if you think I'm onto something.
Look, I'll take it. Because you could tell me, like, the stick is actually Kaladin's brother, and I'd be like, well, I'll hear you out.
And then if you hear them out, you'd be like, I can see that.
I can see that. There were sticks in his flashback chapters. So
I could be convinced.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I want to talk.
And by the way, the voice does say a powerful truth indeed. So they actually say it's a specifically good truth.
That's what I mean. He's checking his truth calculator.
Yeah.
But I
think it's just a vibe check. Okay, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, a vibe check. Yeah. I want to know, like, I want to figure out who this guy is because I don't think it's Patton either.
Yeah, I have no idea which cryptic it is.
And don't you think like they were so ready for this moment? They were just waiting for a chat. Like as soon as Shallan asked them, hey,
also,
can we
by
do
the
this
way,
thing?
creatures, she said in her head, can you hear me? Yes, always. A whisper came in response. That's not normal. That doesn't come up again. Where are these guys going? Are they always still listening to her and she's forgotten to talk about them for the rest of the books? This feels different than what normally happens.
That's why I really can't wait to start Words and to see like how this begins. Because I know she starts to see Patton on the ship, like him going around and stuff. I can't wait to read that first bit of dialogue and cross-compare, cross-examine.
Like, there's not that many cryptics to choose from.
Yeah, it's definitely
a crypt. Like, it has to be a cryptic, right?
Oh, I'd say so. I mean, she's drawing them every day and they're hanging out with her. They're in the hospital with her. But I don't know that, like, I haven't gotten any real pattern energy so far. Okay. Maybe these guys were the recruiters, and then they came back. They're like, "Hey, she's good," and they said pattern.
Notable cryptics. We got pattern. We've decided it's not pattern. It's definitely not design. Who the hell is ornament bonded by barrel?
The absolute disdain for ornament over here.
It's amazing that you can read this book like 8 times and still just be like, what the hell? Like, there are Stormlight fans who will start talking about things, and I'll just be like, dude, touch grass. And then I'll be like, I've read this book 8 times. And there's
always like one guy in the Stormlight subreddit being like, did I read these freaking books? Because every post here is like alien to me. What are you guys talking about?
Ornament apparently was just a cryptic in who they met on the journey to lasting integrity.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Let's see who else we got. Mosaic, bonded to Vatha.
I like their names. I like cryptic names. These are cool.
Residence Earthia. Okay, this is just first appeared Words of Radiance. Since when? Oh, yeah. No, Vatha. Yeah, what am I talking about? Okay. I forgot he becomes a Lightweaver. Okay, well, it's definitely not that. I don't think it's any of these cryptics.
Yeah.
Motif, bonded by, that's the scout person who I just ran into in Oathbringer. Yeah. Okay. It's none of I don't think it's any of these cryptics. Is it a cryptic? Like, it's kind of lame if it's a cryptic. Like, I guess if we meet a cryptic in book 5, then it can be like, yeah, this was the person.
Do you think
wait. But like, when Kaladin speaks oaths, he hears the Stormfather's voice, right? So this should be the equivalent of that.
What's the cryptic father? The lie.
I mean, like, I say that it somehow never occurred to me, but like, shouldn't the other Spren have a Stormfather equivalent? But like, Stormfather's a shard of specifically a shard.
Yeah.
And cryptics aren't. So like,
you're right, because because the Stormfather accepts the words.
Yeah. Who accepts the words for the other? Now I gotta go check Edge Dancer. Who accepts the words for Lift? Because obviously, okay, the Stormfather, whichever Spren you buy, like bond, if you're what's his name, like a bondsmith, that makes sense. What other oaths have we seen? We've seen a lot of Windrunner oaths. I need to go check Edge Dancer when
this is an interesting like contention point we've found. I wonder if it's like a recruiter.
I Edge Dancer right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Edge Dancer, you're in Arcanum Unbounded. All right, we're doing this. We're investigating. I'm trying to. Who accepts oaths? How have I never occurred? Has this never occurred to me before now?
That is true, because I think we're all just enamored with Cal and the Stormfather. It's just like how we've interpreted oaths, but this is one of the rare times we do see it. Because he's like, maybe whoever's speaking is bonding her. He's like, all right, Patton, this is your one. Off you go. This is what it kind of feels like.
Okay, it should be near the edge of end of Edge Dancer, right?
Well, if I'm going to be honest, I didn't even remember she said an oath in Edge Dancer.
Yeah, it's like I will something. I will remember those. She gives the next Elsecaller oath.
I just remember her emotional moment with Nahel. That's what I remember.
Yeah, that was
after that. Or?
Yeah, that was her fulfilling her oath of like, okay, there are words that you must speak. They won't help tonight. The words of these are okay. We're so here. We're so here. Okay, right. What's going on?
Jake's consulting the holy text, and we wait with bated breath.
Okay.
No pressure. Okay. Man, if we find out that there is some like Edge Dancer equivalent, then this is confirmed that each order has like a spokesperson. It's okay. I can jump ahead in the edit. I'll jump to this moment like it took you 1 second.
Should I fake? Should I be like, yes, but I find it page 671, exactly as I expected. Now you're going to include me saying that, and then also me doing that. You're going to do that to me.
The power of editing. No. Jake he's gone to the book. He didn't even flick. He just opened it, and there it was. And there's sort of like a gold glow on his face as he opens the book.
Okay, it's I will listen to those who are ignored. That's what it is. But I don't see
something happen?
No, she just thinks it.
Nobody.
She has the oath figured out, but she hasn't said it. Blah.
All right. Kremlings of the High Mind. This is your research homework.
Who is accepting this truth from Shallan?
Yeah,
is there a high cryptic? Is there like a father version of all the Spren?
Yeah. Get on it, people. We want to hear. We want to hear from you. Let us know who this was. All right. I've got some questions too for this chapter as well. So, although now I'm forgetting them. Oh yeah, no. Here we go. So when people go into Shadesmar, this is another huge oversight. I'm like, how have I never thought about this? I'm like, what's going on in the physical realm when you pop into Shadesmar? And the clue I got here was like, once, Yasna like touches Shallan back to the like light that I guess represents her or whatever, and she's back in the physical realm, Yasna's kind of there with her eyes shut, and when she joins back, she opens her eyes. So when you go to Shadesmar, are you just like a husk with your eyes closed?
No, I mean, you can physically go into Shadesmar because that's how she escapes in Words of Radiance when she gets stabbed, right?
Yeah. So what are people? Do you just like disappear? What happens?
I think you just disappear. I think Yasna didn't actually go into Shadesmar. She just kind of like reached and grabbed Shallan. Because if Yasna goes into Shadesmar, it's really hard for her to get out of Shadesmar, as we see with the whole like all of Words of Radiance happening.
But like in that art piece, you literally see her there.
That's okay. That's like, a very good point.
Like they're straight up chilling. So
yeah, how did? But I mean, obviously, you can go completely into Shadesmar and like disappear, because we've seen her do that, and then we see her come back from Shadesmar in the epilogue of Words of Radiance.
Is there like a gray area? Can you like kind of go in a little bit?
I mean, when she's soul casting, she can like interact with the Spren there without physically going into Shadesmar. So I guess there has to be some kind of gray area.
Yeah, because like she goes in, she makes a raft from the beads, and she calls her an idiot, and then they go to flames of light. Yasna shoved Shallan into one of the small flames, and she fell backward off the raft. Is that her? Like, is that flame is Shallan, right? She's like putting her back in her body. Is that what's happening?
Maybe.
And their bodies are just sitting in the alcove, like
maybe in that case. That was a case of just entering with like your consciousness. Okay. And you can do that or enter with your actual physical body, maybe.
All right. Yeah, it just felt like a moment where I'm like, I'm not sure if I know how this works.
I'm having existential crises about these chapters right. I think talking with you makes me realize all the things I don't know about when I reread these.
Yeah.
You have many things to answer for, Sanderson. You better answer these questions. I want to know what this was. One day, all 10 will be out, and I'll be able to reread The Way of Kings, and I'll just be able to know everything.
Yeah.
I'll be like, I know what's going on here.
I feel like as soon as book 5 comes out, our entire catalog of our reread of The Way of Kings is useless, because like all our questions will be proven wrong.
Well, we'll just have different questions. It's not even like we'll know the answer. We'll just be like, oh, so we were wrong.
Yeah.
So I've seen people say like now they feel like they're not as excited because like too many of the mysteries have been answered. And I'm like, I don't know if you've been paying attention, because there's a lot of things that haven't been answered.
Still so much. There is still so much. All right, let's hop to the next chapter. I'll quickly read the summary now.
Maybe there's like a Dunning-Kruger effect going on here where like you learn a little bit about what's going on and you're like, I know what's going on in Roshar. And then book 5 drops and you're like, I have no goddamn
No, you don't.
Roshar.
You have no clue. All righty. Chapter 71, recorded in blood. Szeth,
so good.
Working as a porter, walks the streets of Kharbranth towards the king's palace, having assassinated the other names on the list given to him by his unseen master. He's in Kharbranth to finish his work and kill King Taravangian. Using his shardblade, he cuts a hole in the servants' privy to access the king's portion of the palace. Szeth easily subdues Taravangian's guards and enters the king's study. Following his instructions, Szeth informs the king that he has killed the others and that there is one more to finish the job. But the king reveals himself to be Szeth's unknown master. He put his name on the list to deflect suspicion should Szeth fail. The king claims the assassinations are necessary to build a stronger Roshar for the coming years. Szeth accuses the king of using him to do his dirty work, and as a response, the king takes him to his secret hospital. The hospital is filled with dying people who are having their blood slowly drained. Here the king shows Szeth that his hands are not clean, having drained the blood of many. He explains that the dying see something important as they die, and here they record their words. He believes their words may contain the key to everyone's salvation. He then adds a name to Szeth's list that he had hoped to avoid, but recent events have made necessary. Dalinar Colon. Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, it's a chapter largely centered around Szeth, Sun Vallano, Truthless of Shinovar, and Taravangian, who are like the per-page goats of this series.
They are.
Like they're not the actual goats, but they're the efficiency goats. They're like the per page. So this chapter is a banger.
Yeah. Pure protein. Just straight into your veins.
I'm sorry I'm distracted, but I'm like, Liv definitely swore her second ideal in the interlude. And I'll read this later and I'll DM me.
We'll figure it out.
Szeth, Taravangian.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I want to hear what you were going to say.
I was going to say, what are your burning questions? Because you came in hot in the last chapter. You're like, this isn't pattern. So what's the big?
I don't have the same degree of burning questions. The same degree of burning questions here. I mean, you do
a ridiculous amount of questions.
Hit me with them,
and they're all going to be shut down by you. But I'm going to ask them anyway.
The thing I'm obsessed with, 1 in 4. I'm like, oh, you're on to something.
All right. Okay. I'm obsessed with the screams. Szeth and his screams. I've done a little bit of looking into it. And Sanderson, when people ask him, he kind of alludes it's like a spiritual realm thingy mabob. But he's he kind of dodges the question when it comes to him. And what's good is you're reading Oathbringer, because apparently Dalinar briefly hears the screams of the people in the rift in a similar fashion to how Szeth does. But it's like all about Szeth with these screams. Every chapter, he closes his eyes. He's like, these people can't stop screaming. And, I should pull up what Sanderson said. But he's like, in a way, it's magical. But if this happened in the real world, Szeth wouldn't experience this. But if it happens in the Cosmere and you've had the life that Szeth has had, it makes sense that this is happening. And I was kind of like, what does that mean?
I thought it was just like a guilt thing. That is interesting.
No, that
is interesting. That's like, so we're about to bring in a Doctor Who reference, because I thought it was like there's a Peter Capaldi speech in the Zygon inversion where he's like, but if I close my eyes, I hear more screams than anyone would ever be able to count. That's a part of it. It's a great episode. And I just thought it was that type of thing.
It's Szeth.
That episode's fire, by the way. Leave in the comments if you watch the Zygon inversion. Unless you dislike it, then I don't want to talk to you. Okay, that's interesting.
Do you want me to read exactly what Sanderson said? I found it here. I found his word for word. So someone, Blight Song, asked on the 8th of April 2016 at OdysseyCon specifically, is anything magical going on with the screams Szeth hears? Sanderson replied, Szeth screams. I'm trying to decide how to answer this. It is not. So here's the thing. What would we call magical may not be considered magical in the Cosmere, but it depends on your definition of magic. Would Szeth, if he were on our planet and have done these things, would he hear those screams? Probably not. But would someone else in the Cosmere who had gone through what he had gone through hear those screams? Yes. And then the person says, so it has to do with the spiritual realm? And then Sanderson says, yeah.
It's also interesting because, like, we've had a lot of people in the Cosmere who have, like, murdered people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure Vin has killed more people than Szeth.
She might be the top tier.
I think, yeah. And I think Kelsier actually, because he was less merciful in it. He's killed probably more people. I mean, Dalinar has killed more people than Szeth. That boy's killed a lot of people.
And he's heard some screams, though.
He has heard some screams, but he's heard way less screams than Szeth.
Yeah.
Like, Szeth has by far the most screams per person killed.
Yeah.
So there's something about him specifically, like, it's not just killing people. It must be something about, like, why and how he's killing people. Is it like he's killing people while, like, not believing it's justified? Maybe? Is it because it's going against an oath of some kind? I don't know. But there's got to be, it can't just be that he's killed a lot of people, because a lot of Cosmere people.
For me, it felt like some sort of, like, part of the Truthless deal. Maybe that's added on. And I'm obsessed with stones, right? And we've got, like, voices, and we've had scenes of, like, voices in the stones and things like that with Venli and stuff. And when he hears the voices in this chapter, I'm trying to find the exact quote, but he's like, beneath the bed and on the walls. That's where he hears them, which is where the stones are. So I was like, what's
Stones
that
Unhallowed.
Yeah. Stones Unhallowed. We're back to it.
Sounds like a great title for a Stormlight.
Yeah. I want to find, here we go. He spoke loudly, trying to drown out the screams that he thought for certain must be coming from the upper eaves of the room. That was one. And then there's another one where he specifically says they're coming from beneath the bed and on the walls.
It might have something to do with stones. I mean, especially with Szeth, that would kind of make sense. Stones, like, but does it have something to do, like, because obviously the other people go on stones even more than Szeth because they don't care.
Yeah.
Is it specifically his belief that the stones are holy? It is like,
I just think there's some truth to that.
Maybe it has to do with like the fact that he's been killing people while doing what he believes are unholy things. Like with Capsule, hears screams if he killed Shallan and no, I'm kidding. No, we don't talk about Capsule. Him being dead is a net positive for the interest of the Stormlight Archive. Man, that's really interesting. Why does he kill? Because like he's killed a lot of people, but he hasn't killed a unique amount of people.
No.
And he doesn't have a unique, even amount of regret for killing those people, one could even say. He does probably beat himself up the most for the people he's killed. Are these self-inflicted screams?
I feel like they are the screams of the people that he's killed. I just don't know why he's hearing them. He also calls them the spirits below. He also
I wonder if it has to do with the fact that, like, when he was killing the people, he didn't believe he was justified in his actions. Most people who kill someone, I think, probably believe that, because it's probably like very hard, like not normal to kill someone. Like you have to have you'd have to be pretty convicted, have a lot of conviction that you're right, like to kill someone. Like it's a pretty serious thing to do. He didn't have conviction that these people, the killing people, was the right thing to do. He had conviction that he had to follow his oath. But knew what he was doing was incredibly wrong. I wonder if that has to do with it. That could also like explain. I don't think Kelsier ever believed the people he was wrong to kill people, but Dalinar, in hindsight, did.
Yeah,
maybe.
The other possibility I'll put up on the table is it could have to do with the blade he has, because it was
the honor blade.
Yeah, Yasrian's blade. So if it's being used for this stuff, maybe it's like a caveat.
The funny thing is, like,
wrecking house, it's like a drawback.
Is
it's not very honorable. So
and I guess that would fit with Brandon's description of if someone did what Szeth did, and we assume that's murder people. It could be specifically murder people with an honor blade, though. Heralds have killed a lot of people with honor blades.
But maybe it was for, like, quote unquote,
and also honorable. They're all kind of insane. Maybe they hear people screaming.
Maybe, yeah.
No, I don't think they do.
I think this will definitely be answered next book, like, without a doubt.
It's the Szeth book. Yeah.
So that's one of our questions. But beyond the thing is, like,
by our definition of the world, like, someone would be like, oh, he's using the blade dishonorably. But, like, from Honor's perspective, he's actually acting very honorably because he's following his oath to perfection. So the weird thing is he's using the blade honorably.
Yeah.
From the perspective of, like, the Shard Honor, who's dead. But
I'll say what I can do.
Yeah. Or he's not dead as long as he lives in the hearts of men.
Yeah.
But so that seems kind of weird for it being related to, like, misusing the blade. But maybe that just doesn't matter and he's killing innocent people. I kind of think when you were onto it the first time, I think it has to do with the stones and his belief that the stones are holy. Or it might have something to do with, like, the Shin are actually onto something and there is actually something, like, supernatural about the stones. I think
there is some sort of spiritual, like, remnant of people in the stones of Roshar.
I feel like this is your moment, Christian, because you don't hear this from me very often. I think you're right that it's about the stones.
Yeah.
How often do you hear that one?
It's always been about the stones. Thanks, man. But no, seriously, I think there's some sort of magical, spiritual juju with the stones on Roshar. That's why they don't want to step on them, because, like, ancestors have a little bit of something in there still or something. And the people he's killing, like, just chilling in the stones, being like, "Hey, why'd you kill me?" I'm losing my moment, Jake. I started off strong.
No, I think you're actually. I'm gonna take over from you here because I think you might be on something. Because a specific part of the punishment of being truthless is that you have to follow orders to go on stones and kill people, and you bear the responsibility and guilt.
Yeah.
What if that's not just like a metaphorical thing? What if it's literally they know that like if you go kill these people, you'll bear the guilt, like you'll bear the screams because the like souls of the people you kill will get locked into the stones. Maybe that's a part of the truth.
I think
I think you're cooking. I think you're cooking here.
Hey man, I cooked a great meal. You seasoned it, and it's ready to go. All right, cool. All right, we've solved that mystery. Onto the death hospital.
Yeah. I think there's also. I think we can talk about Taravangian. I really like the irony of Szeth being like, of hating Taravangian because at first, like before he meets him, because he's like too stupid to be able to stop him. And I miss like I wonder what would have actually happened if like he got there and Taravangian was on a stupid day, and Szeth would kill him because he didn't acknowledge him. But would they have just instructed the stupid Taravangian to just put the stone on and be like, no kill, talk later, see tomorrow?
Dude, I was wondering that. I'm like, how did they time this? That he was going to be super smart.
I think they got a bit lucky.
And like not drooling.
I think they got a bit lucky, and that was like the contingency for if he wasn't smart, which is why they don't just have like go see Taravangian and talk to him.
Yeah,
like that's why they're a little more.
Make sure he understands and acknowledges, because otherwise he's like staring at a butterfly.
Which is why I think Taravangian is like lying when he's like, I would just had it like that. So to avoid blame, I think it was to cover for him being both smart and stupid. Do
you want to talk about this death rattle?
Sure.
All right. The day was ours, but they took it. Stormfather, you cannot have it. The day is ours. They come rasping, and the lights fall. Oh, Stormfather. The lights fall. Ooh.
That doesn't sound good. I'm no expert. But
I mean, for years, for literally 3 or 4 years, I've been saying that like the Stormlight of Roshar, or the light of Roshar, the Night of Sorrows, is going to be this moment. Kind of sticking to it. It kind of just feels like a disastrous end for the next book. But the specifics I do not know. What do you make of it?
So here's the thing. When they say Stormfather, you cannot have it, I'm assuming they're like not being like Stormfather the curse. They're saying literally Stormfather. But what does the Stormfather want? What would the Stormfather not be able to have? So is this like related to like Windrunner related stuff?
For me, I took it as the curse. So now I'm rethinking the whole thing, as it's literally the Stormfather.
I mean, it repeats Stormfather, like, oh, Stormfather. Like, it feels like it could be the curse, but I feel like it's capital S Stormfather. That's at the end of a sentence. The second one is not the beginning of a sentence, and it's capital S Stormfather. If it was a curse, it would be.
Is it always? Is it always capitalized? Even if it's a
I don't know if it's capital S when it's the curse. I guess
I'm gonna check. I
guess you are saying Stormfather, the proper noun. So I guess it would be.
It's always capitalized. Okay.
But Storms is the more common curse than Stormfather. Who curses Stormfather?
Because it's a death rattle. It's gonna sound kind of biblical, you know.
Maybe it sounds kind of biblical because he's literally it means literally Stormfather cannot have something.
Hey, I'm willing to go down down the hole with you, the rabbit hole. But I need more. Okay.
I don't have more. I'm sorry.
Okay. You cannot have it. Stormfather's just trying to. What's he trying to take? Is this the sus father coming back?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this death rattle.
All right. End of the world stuff, guys. Lights are falling. Night of Sorrows. I'm going to leave it at that.
It's the end of the world.
So, look, we see the Silent Gatherers finally. We've been talking about them for like a whole year. I just kind of love that she's waiting with a pen, just like ready to go. Another day at work. Just with the clipboard and the pen. Dinosaurs. Okay, yeah, cool. Another one. And Taravangian just like, yeah, sometimes we don't have enough sick people, so we just, we poach some of the best, the best of the best off the streets. This was a great moment. But I'm afraid I don't have too much else to dive into. It's the major sequel bait moment with the Dalinar shout out. And sets up Words of Radiance nicely. Are you happy to jump to the next one?
I think so. Maybe.
All right. If we think of something, we can jump back to it. But otherwise, chapter 72, Verestatalian.
Oh yeah, what is this artwork? Why is this? Is this the heralds? What's going on here?
Oh yeah, we talked about that last chapter. That's Nahel. That's Nahel. And in the where is that placed in now for part 5?
Yeah, it's like right before the start of the next chapter.
Oh, because like in the original one, in the original copy, it's before Justice, the chapter Justice, which is a few before, and Nahel, Herald of Justice. It felt kind of fitting, but I guess they slightly changed it for the Leatherbound. But yeah, that was a Jimmy find last week. He figured that one out, which was cool.
Okay, hey, I got the line I was talking about earlier. Yasna held up a hand. These are a type of Spren, Shallan. They are related to what you do. She tapped the desk softly. 2 orders of the Knight's Radiance possessed inherent soul-casting ability. I believe the original Fabrils were based on their power. I had assumed you... But no, that clearly wouldn't make sense. I see now. What the hell is she talking about? That doesn't seem like how you would phrase it if you're just like, it makes sense you're a different, like, Radiant Order because you're good at drawing. Like, it seems like she was about to say, I assumed that you were also an Else Caller because that's the natural assumption when you can soulcast and you see someone else's soulcast. But then that clearly wouldn't make sense. Not, but it turns out you're not. Like, not I guess you had a 50-50 chance. Obviously, in hindsight, you're a Lightweaver, and I should have been able to figure out you were a Lightweaver all this time. Like,
okay, so before I dive into this, chapter 72 summary, they talk about more Spren stuff. All right, going back in. It's just Yasna and Shallan chatting. Going back into this. Okay, there's a few things, right? Is she thinking, okay, one, she could be thinking about her artistic ability, light weaving stuff. She could also be thinking about, like, she's been deceiving her the whole time. She's been like stealing and lying. Did she also? But
she's not deceiving about what her radiant order is. She doesn't even know what her radiant order is. It's not you were lying. You're actually a Lightweaver, not an Else. Is it just like? No, or do you mean like because she's lying? It makes sense for her to be a Lightweaver because Lightweavers are all a bunch of liars.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. And she also said the thing about her father out loud last chapter. So Yasna presumably heard that. And was like,
thing is, so when I see, but no, that clearly wouldn't make sense. That's different from, but now I see you're a Lightweaver. That feels like, in hindsight, it doesn't make sense for you to have been a Lightweaver. This is an Else Caller this entire time, you know?
Right.
Am I imagining that interpretation?
No. I want to. Okay. Well, my natural next thing to do here is to look into Else Callers a little bit. Because, like, what defines an Else Caller? Really, I can't tell you off the top of my head. Let's see.
Yeah,
what
we don't know. We don't know. Like, they're the scholarly order. That makes sense with Shallan. Inkspren, Powder Soulcast, Else Call.
So they're trying to become better with each oath, seeking to explore their potential and reach it. They want to improve themselves. They're like the self-improvement gurus of the Knights Radiant. They tend to attract those who are less flamboyant, scholars, theologians, and those who are interested in leadership. But, like, Shallan has a little bit of that, like the scholarly side. But if you had to say, she definitely fits the Lightweaver mold more, but I still am with you to say I'm not convinced necessarily why Yasna said it like that right now. That obviously wouldn't make sense.
I think this is a new thing. I think, like, it also fits with the assumption that this is a thing just based on, like, narrative structure actually making sense in world, which Sanderson loves to do, of having, like, one of each Radiant being prevalent to start off. And if it was a deliberate plan to send one, that fits with, like, because there's, like, it's not just the ones we see. Like, how many pre-Rhythm of War, there is one Edge Dancer. There's two Edge Dancers, though, because there's the dude who makes shoes. He was an Edge Dancer, right?
He didn't bond yet, I don't think. He gets killed before he can bond.
He had the surge, though. He had the surge, though, and the Spren was there. Yeah, because he healed the boy who was with the feet.
Oh, yeah, right.
But maybe he dies, and then they send another one.
I feel like because like Shallan bonded years ago as a child. So was she the only
Yeah,
one
and
for that
Syl's been
long?
around for a long time as well. Like
Yeah.
Syl saw Kaladin at Hearthstone at home and
Do you
remembered
think
rumors of stuff.
Yasna's is also like the sickness referred to in her childhood was this kind of stuff?
Like, I think she's been bonded the longest. Like, I think she figured out what was going on in like 5 minutes, and it took Kaladin and Shallan like 5 years.
But like I thought that too, but then in the prologue of Words of Radiance, she's like, "What's going on? Why am I in
Yeah, that was like
Shadesmar?"
That was like 6 years before though.
But
So
that's what
that
I
fits,
mean.
I think, timing wise. If she starts figuring out she's figuring out what's going on a little bit about as at the same time as like when Kaladin is leaving to be a soldier, which would fit with like if Syl had been in Hearthstone. How many years ago?
And the same timing with Shallan actually,
Yeah.
and her mum.
Why did balloons just appear?
This happens every time my Mac, it looks for like gestures, but like assuming the Herald thing is correct with Shallan's mum. That also
nice assumption.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's relevant for this, but
I'm saying in the Stormlight 5 prologue, it tied like that death presumably happens at the same time as the night that Yasna fell into Shadesmar as well.
Okay. And so, also presumably like when these Spren were in Shadesmar, they were coherent and intelligent, and then when they left for our world, they become not intelligent until they find the human that bonds them, and then they gain the intelligence back. So there could have been some kind of like coherent plan between them in Shadesmar that Ivory has told Yasna about, because Ivory has been sentient for the longest and would have the most memory.
I love that. I love this theory of the whole like, let's find one for each like order. We're feeling okay.
Like lead the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Great choices. Great choices, guys. Fully support your efforts. Thumbs up.
Wendell though, like although Wendell didn't choose Lift.
He got stuck with her, right?
Someone else chose Liffrey. He was like, he was gonna have the cobbler. Remember, he says like, I was gonna have this nice dude who sold shoes. So it's the same Spren. It's just one.
Okay. So
but I always assumed that was like I forgot what type of Spren he is.
Cultivation Spren.
Cultivation Spren. That like the Cultivation Spren all grouped up and chose the person for him. But what if it was like Syl, Pattern? But no, Syl and Pattern weren't sentient when the cobbler died. That doesn't work. And also, what's with the high Spren? The high Spren aren't working. Maybe they just don't. It doesn't have to include. I don't know.
There's enough here to start cooking, but we can't finish.
I don't know what's going on here. I know something's going on.
Yeah, definitely. And then we have the whole we enslaved the Voidbringers moment.
Yeah.
The Voidbringer definition gets changed quite a lot throughout this series.
Yes. Everyone keeps thinking they know what's going on, and then they actually don't.
So it's like, because like even in Oathbringer, they're like, we're the Voidbringers. But I think in the most literal sense, the fused are the Voidbringers, right? Like in the most literal sense, it's them. Yeah.
Yeah. Like really, it's not we're the Void. It's like we were the invaders originally. But
yes,
in this case, the fused who were using Parshendi like bodies and co-opting them, were the Voidbringers. And one could argue that when for that final desolation, the Parshendi were the Voidbringers ish kind of. Like this isn't fully wrong. It's just incomplete.
Yeah.
I have to stop myself from reading the start of the next chapter.
Yeah, it was such a struggle not to just do the whole rest of part 5.
Yeah, how's been not binging the Sanderlanche? How's like read 3 Sanderlanche and then stop?
It's extremely tough. It's not fun.
I feel like if I was doing this, I would have read all the way to the end like 4 times if I was like by accident.
We toyed with the idea, but then Jimmy couldn't be on this week. I said we should finish the show together. Like we started this. We should finish it together. And we've also got the epilogue, which we'll have a lot to talk about there.
I love the epilogue.
And then, dude, after that, I got to do my Kremlin tier list, which is happening.
Tier list of Kremlings.
Tier list of sus Kremlings.
Have you considered that maybe the Kremlings are screaming and they're just following Szeth around to troll him?
Yeah, they've molded into his ear and it's like, oh, why'd you kill me? Just to mess with him.
They're just coming from the direction of Stone just because they know he thinks it, just to troll him.
See, that would make me love them even more. But I've literally got...
I like how I'm doing all this like theory crafting and making fun of theory crafters. I'm such a hypocrite.
Yeah,
whatever. And no, not in a man in the process of changing way, just like full on.
just yeah. There's no redemption arc here.
Yeah, no.
But I have a document listing where I've put the chapters and I've put in every quote of every Kremling. I'm just gonna go through it. And we'll see what they were up to. And that's how I spend my free time, guys.
I just like the Kremlings because I can use it to make fun of people who say that Sanderson can't be subtle and just tells us everything in Way of Kings. Because anytime someone's like, Sanderson's not subtle, I'm always just like, oh, so what did you think of the secret organization of Kremling spies? Hive Mind, the hive mind of Kremling spies. It's like, oh, yeah. What? Oh, did you miss that one?
All right, let's sneak it in. All right. Spanreed for the week from Josh to Christian, Jimmy, Jake, and all of the fellow Kremlings. First of all, thank you guys so much for what you do and all of the effort you put into the show. I just finished my first Stormlight read through a few months ago, and I've been hungry for more Cosmere ever since. I considered rereading Stormlight before Book 5, and then I found the Lost in Roshar podcast. Hearing your recaps, analysis, and incredible theories has really helped me keep everything fresh. I couldn't wait to join the Hive Mind in our glorious quest for truth, but I wanted to listen to all of the episodes first. But now, here is my tentative theory regarding the history of Roshar. Thank you, Josh. Let's hear this theory.
I do have to preface something, Josh. I appreciate you thanking me for all the effort I put in. I actually put in very little effort. Like, you really should just thank Christian for like, he puts in like 90-something% of the effort, and then it's like 8% Jimmy and like 2% me.
In Oathbringer, it is revealed that the humans are not native to Roshar, but instead invaded from their planet, bringing Odium with them. There are still so many questions on exactly how Honor and Odium switched, with Honor favoring the human/Radiance and Odium adopting the Singers/Fused. Lady Raboniel fills in some of the gaps in Rhythm of War when she tells us that the Radiance surge binding are just imitations of the natural powers of the Fused. However, it was previously believed that surge binding is what destroyed the humans' home planet of Ashyn before they came to Roshar. With that information we currently have, the only way that makes sense to me is if the Parshendi actually were the original invaders and they brought Spren and Surges to Ashyn first. I believe it is their powers mixed with Odium that destroyed the planet, forcing humans and Parshendi to move back to Roshar. This also lines up with the mythology that the Voidbringers drove out the humans from the Tranquiline Halls, starting the eternal struggle for power on Roshar. Okay, let me know what you guys think. I'm sure I'm missing something, and I was hoping you guys could maybe fill in some pieces. Or if there's something I'm forgetting that makes the theory invalid, then poke away. Either way, it would be an honor to work with you all and be part of what you are doing for Stormlight fans everywhere. Life before death, Dustbringer Squire Josh. Whoa.
Oh, look at this guy, Dustbringer, causing chaos.
Yes.
So I want to make sure the theory is kind of, originally humans were on Roshar, and then the Parshendi came and brought their surge binding, brought the surges, and then the humans left.
Originally, humans were on Ashyn.
Oh, so like the Parshendi came to Ashyn.
Yeah.
Okay, and then later
their surges,
then they got after. So I guess the theory would be like that the Parshendi did like oops, have Shinovar. Sorry for bringing the thing that destroyed your planet.
Yeah. Classic oops, have Shinovar moment. Yeah.
All right, I guess it wouldn't necessarily be that they came, but like they gained contact with each other, and the humans got access to surge binding. Because it doesn't necessarily need to be like an invasion to bring out. Like it could have been like through trade, and then Spren saw humans and were like, "Hey, that looks interesting. Let's create a radiant bond and bring on surge binding." But like, so I've thought for a long time that like there's the reveal in Oathbringer that's like humans were the Voidbringers originally. Oh, and also they destroyed a planet with surge binding, and everyone freaks out about the humans came to Roshar. And the Parshendi were the original inhabitants. And I'm like, that's cool. But I feel like we should be focusing more on the surge binding destroyed the planet. Because like the implication is that's actually what caused the Radiance to disband. Like the Radiants weren't just like, oops, we came to the planet second, so we're all disbanding. It was, hey, we came to the planet because Surge Binding destroyed the previous one.
Yeah.
And I think in world people are focusing on the wrong half of that reveal. I guess that's plausible. That I mean, I guess it would make sense. I don't know if it would be like a big, like a switcheroo reveal, but more just as the two planets ended up in contacting each other because they could use Shadesmar, like the Parshendi could use Shadesmar to get over there, and like then the Spren came over. But there should be a spiritual realm. Like, is Surge Binding an imitation of the Fused because like the Spren? Because originally Parshendi were Radiants, right? Like the Spren used to have 4 genders because the Parshendi have like the 4 genders depending on like whether they're made or not. So it would have been Radiants with Parshendi imitating the power of the Fused. Which still, but then it's like, yeah, how did humans get Surge Binding? The Spren could have just gone is the problem though. Like the Spren could have just gone to the planet. You don't necessarily need the Parshendi.
Can they do that though? Because like there's all this like there's all these transportation issues. Yeah.
So I guess because he's right though. Like, how did the humans get Surge Binding originally?
Yeah, that's a great. Yeah, how could you Surge Bind on Ashyn without all the bonds and the funky stuff?
It makes sense for like for that to be a more likely cause of the catastrophe if Surge Binding was introduced late, right? Because it's like Surge Binding was like the invasive species. Usually natural orders are pretty balanced. That's why they last for the millions of years required for like society for people and for a species to evolve to the point where society can exist. But then if Parshendi figured out how to go there and like didn't invade, but just like open trade and like started talking with them, and then Surge Binding arrived, and then the antimatter stuff that we learn in Rhythm of War happened, and boom.
I like it. I think it's a very cool theory.
I think that's a very plausible sequence of events.
And it's like it keeps the twist going. So this one was like, oh, Voidbringers are Parshendi. Next one is, oh, we're the Voidbringers. And we had to leave our planet. Oh, no, they went to our planet, stuffed it up, and then we went to their planet.
Somewhat accidentally stuffed it up, maybe. But they could have deliberately. I mean, I don't know how they would plausibly deliberately introduce Surge Binding with the plan of...
This could be endgame stuff with the, the Herald perspectives being left to the end of the series. We could get this whole thing in the Ashyn flashbacks and like a little Parshendi showing up being like, hey, you want to try this like magic? Like, yeah.
Well, the Heralds wouldn't have been alive. Like the Heralds started.
They would be alive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they would be alive.
But I mean, presumably there would be a time gap between Surge Binding and being introduced and the planet being completely wrecked. Like that.
Yeah. Because apparently that was Ishar Ishar was part of the Exodus, right? He kind of.
I guess if that's going to be a conflict of doing it again, which presumably it is by the rule of Chekhov's gun, then the gap between the introduction of Surge Binding and messing up the planet can happen in one lifetime. So it could be like the Heralds were there when Surge Binding was originally introduced on Ashyn. And that could be narratively effective, because it could be like, look, when Surge Binding's at its biggest risk of this happening accidentally is when it's been introduced recently, but it's been around long enough that we've had time to experiment with it, but not have had long enough to understand like the consequences of that, which would be like in 5 years in world, 10 years maybe.
Supposedly, like that's what happens. Like they go there, and then Honor's like, "All right, I heard about what you did, so I'm setting some limits on this Surge Binding business." So he seems like he was aware of what happened. Like I heard about the road trip,
though, which could cause problems.
Yeah. Yes. How the limit's still existing.
Yeah.
Maybe just through his, I don't know.
Or is that the point of the oaths, to try and stop it? But I don't think the oaths actually would stop it, because it was I don't know. Yeah,
I think he might be something.
When Surge Binding was originally a thing, were there oaths, or was it like, could you just bond with Spren, and then the Spren's like, here, have all the Surge Binding powers?
Did you have to bond? Even is that a prerequisite, or is that the new? How do you like? Well, maybe it's just different over there.
Like everyone can surge mine. All
if
the
you can
surges,
destroy a whole, I don't know if you can destroy a whole planet. Maybe.
I mean, maybe like the Spren Radiant Nahel bond system was the strategy to stop.
Yeah, it's like a license to surge bind.
But if that is the case, that seems like if then the Radiants who did the Recreants learned that, they'd be like, oh, so we're fine because we all have Nahel bombs.
That's a whole. Well, the theory's got us thinking.
This is a good mailbag question.
Yeah.
Was Josh? Good work, Josh.
Yeah, I know. And shouting out Jake too, respect. A true listener of the show.
I do appreciate shouting out that Jake guy.
He's pretty cool.
He has his moments. Hey, Josh, since you're so smart, who was that who accepted Shallan's oath?
yeah, Josh. Seeing as you figured out the whole series, figure out this one. Talking a big game. But hey, man, thanks for being on. Second last episode of The Way of Kings. If you had to pick a chapter to be on for Words of Radiance, what are your requests now? We can have it in writing.
Okay, so I'm not going to pick the basic answers of like Honor is dead.
Okay.
I want the Shallan flashback where she interacts with Hoid.
Okay.
That's my first choice. I want I think there's a Taln interlude, or like the one where he
catches the dart.
Yeah, I want a Taln interlude. Let's see, what else do I want? If it's the lift interlude, I'm not coming on. I'm sorry, I'm busy that day.
What if we figure out who accepted our oaths? I'll just quickly jump you into the call for like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
and
that's
be like,
true.
We've got it. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What other chapters would I specifically want? I mean, I feel like I want more flashback chapter episodes, like especially Shallan flashbacks. Maybe I feel like there's gonna be so many where I'm like gonna forget. Now I'm gonna spend the next 6 weeks being like, oh yeah, that one too.
Yeah, it's okay.
You can't ask me that question. How many chapters was Words of Radiance have? Like 100 with the interludes?
Way more.
No, I mean
we'll probably have to do a few more
it's 89 chapters. The epilogue.
Oh, that's not too bad.
90.
Actually.
Yeah, I mean, Oathbringer and Rhythm of War have way more. The Oathbringer chapters are a lot shorter, and the book is longer. All right, let's just scroll through these interludes. Let's see if there's Ashyn, whatever, Risen, yeah. You guys Jimmy should get the Zaheel interlude because you guys will have just gone through Warbreaker.
Yeah.
But I want the Talon. Then he's gonna get the Talon. You can go like Ashyn. He's gonna.
It's gonna be a while, man, because like we're in the middle of Words of Radiance. Book 5's gonna come out, and we're gonna have to put it on pause anyway.
And also to prank me, you know what interlude is right after the lift interlude that I would get to be the episode on? It's the Szeth interlude in Words of Radiance. So it's like if I get a lift, it's like if I do the lift interview, we can just not
give it a take.
The Szeth interlude's way shorter though. The lift interlude's like 11,000 words. The Szeth is 700. I think that's the one where he's sitting on the top of the tower.
On top, just like no problem. Yeah.
Okay, then a bunch of schlong. Just a Taravangian interlude. That's what I want. I want the Taravangian
and the Hoid. All right.
Hoid flashback with Hoid. And the part 4 interludes that contain Taravangian.
All right.
And obviously, if you invite me on for any of the hype chapters, like I used to when I first read it, Kaladin swearing the third oath to like the end of the book, I would just read that like every other day for a bit in high school. Like I just opened a Kindle and I just like, all right, I will check even those I hate as long as this is right. I deeply love that sequence. Like I like that more than the Honor is Dead sequence. The Honor is Dead sequence is dope. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but it's ruined by his cringy speech.
Yeah, but but my internal voice does it really well.
Yeah. Maybe you should get Sanderson to read it just to up it.
No.
All right, guys. As always, thank you for accompanying us on this episode of Lost in Roshar. Remember, the most important chapter a man can read is the next one. We'll see you next time as we complete The Way of Kings. If you enjoy this podcast, be sure to leave us a review on whichever platform you listen on. If you have feedback, questions, or theories, Spanreed us at lostinroshar@gmail.com. And thank you, Jake, once again.
Thank you so much for having me on, Christian, and the watchers for being supportive and slightly sassy, as it should be. I really appreciate you guys having me on here. It's loads of fun.
We'll see you in Words of Radiance, man.
See you in Words of Radiance at some point. I'll fill in for. Do you know how many chapters I don't like in Words of Radiance? Like 0. I even like the lift interlude. I'm just kind of joking about it.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.